Repossessions. You think they look like this and this, right? Well, wrong. Right now, even brand new luxury models like Teslas and BMWs are parked at dealer repo auctions. So, what's causing this surge in repossessions? Why are so many people losing their vehicles, even ones that are practically brand new? And what does it mean for the broader economy? Well, like, subscribe, and let's go. First, let's talk about the raw data. Repossessions are skyrocketing in 2024, up by a jaw-dropping 23% compared to last year. And that's saying something because last year was already pretty bad with similar repo rate increases. And all of this brings us back to pre-pandemic levels of vehicle seizures, with the projected 1.6 million cars expected to be repossessed by the end of this year. You see, during the pandemic, government financial assistance was at generational numbers. And with things like those delicious stimulus checks, people had more money to put down on new cars and pay off their car notes. But now, those safety nets are long gone, and we're seeing the aftermath. And what is the aftermath? Well, that means that a tsunami of cars are getting repoed by the banks and sold off for pennies on the dollar, leaving everyone involved shorthanded. And interestingly, it's not just older beat-up vehicles getting towed away. Luxury cars and nearly new models are being repossessed at alarming rates. Teslas with just a few thousand miles, BMWs, and expensive new SUVs like Jeep Grand Cherokees are showing up in bank-owned auction lanes across the country. This trend points to a bigger financial crisis that's not just affecting less wealthy subprime borrowers. It's actually hitting middle and upper class consumers who overestimated their purchasing power. More on that in just a sec. One of the biggest reasons behind the spike in repossessions is the steep rise in interest rates. Right now, the average interest rate for a new car loan is 7.3%, while for used cars, it's an eye-watering 11.5%. For context, during early pandemic years, interest rates were historically low, and consumers flocked to buy vehicles. We're talking 4 and 5% interest rates on car loans during the time. It was just a killer deal. And those interest rate hikes, well, they go hand in hand with what you'll be paying every single month. And the average monthly payments were also hugely affected. During the height of the pandemic in 2021, car payments were much cheaper. But when we fast forward to this year, monthly payments for new cars have surged to an average of $740, while used cars now average $550 per month. That's almost exactly a $100 increase for both new and used car payments. And over a 60 or 72-month loan term, that adds up to thousands of extra dollars folks now have to pay. And it's this steep increase in monthly payments that has stretched household budgets to the breaking point. Many people who purchased cars in the last couple of years when rates were low are now stuck with loans that they can't afford. And when that happens, well, you read the title of the video, repos. The problem is also compounded by inflation, which leaves less money to cover car payments. Simply put, the math isn't mathing anymore, and something, well, it has to give. And for many families, well, that something is their car. People are being forced to make difficult choices between paying for essentials like food and housing, making their car payment on time. And as borrowers fall behind on their payments, repossessions rise, creating a vicious cycle. So, how is inflation contributing to all this? Well, although inflation rates have cooled slightly from its peak in 2022, the prices of everyday essentials are still getting more and more expensive. Gasoline, groceries, rent, and healthcare costs have all ballooned, leaving less disposable income for non-essential spending like cars. For many households, the monthly budget is a straight-up balancing act. As inflation eats into their buying power, people are forced to prioritize their basic needs over their car loans. Even small increases in expenses, like a $50 increase in the price of groceries or a $100 jump in monthly rent, can mean the difference between making a car payment or missing it. But perhaps what's most alarming is how it's hitting people across the economic spectrum. While subprime borrowers, those with low credit scores, are traditionally the first to feel the financial squeeze, this time around, even prime borrowers are falling behind. A report from Bloomberg indicated that subprime delinquencies are at record highs. However, repossessions among wealthier consumers, especially those with luxury vehicles, is also rising, which is a sign that even high earners are not immune to this effect of inflation and rising interest rates. But still, it's no secret that subprime borrowers are feeling the brunt of the crisis. These borrowers typically have lower credit scores and, as a result, face much higher interest rates on their loans. The average interest rate for a subprime auto loan is significantly higher than for prime loans, and as inflation drives up living costs, those borrowers are often the first to default. As we speak, many subprime borrowers are now upside down on their loans, meaning that they owe more on their vehicles than the cars are worth. This leaves them with few options when they fall behind on payments. Since their vehicles have depreciated faster than they paid off their loans, selling these cars isn't really a viable option, which forces many into default and eventual repossession. And that means young people. That's why on these repo auction lots, there are so many enthusiast cars seen that sell for nothing. Cars like Mustangs, Camaros, Challengers, and Chargers, and other fun cars are being snatched up by the banks because the pandemic-era economy, well, it's gone, and they have been left behind to suffer the consequences. But what happens to these cars once they're repossessed? Can't they go right back to the dealer lots as used inventory? Well, yes and no. You see, many of these repoed cars are, let's say, not maintained in the most caring way. Dents, ugly modifications, scuffed paint, mechanical issues. They're all huge thorns in the side of the banks because they have to put even more money into these cars in order for them to be attractive to customers. And even then, repossessed cars in general are just hard to sell. Another factor that has contributed to the repossession crisis is the skyrocketing cost of vehicles themselves. Over the past few years, both new and used car prices have soared to record levels. During the last 2 years, the average price for a new car was nearly 50 grand. And used cars were also pretty pricey at $30,000 on average. And although prices have started to stabilize a bit, they remain far above pre-pandemic levels. And to cope with these higher prices, well, many car buyers have to take out longer loans. Most financial experts recommend getting loan terms no longer than 60 to 72 months at the most. But now, people can't afford shorter-term, higher monthly payments and are opting for 80-plus month loans, which means higher interest. And currently, the average loan term for new cars has risen to almost 70 months, nearly 6 years. While longer loans mean lower monthly payments, they also mean that borrowers are going to be paying more interest over time, which increases the total cost of ownership. And you saw how high those interest rates are. People are getting gouged. And the car repossession crisis isn't just an issue for individual consumers either. It's a serious warning sign for the broader economy. Historically, rising repossession rates has been an early indicator of financial trouble. During the 2008 financial crisis, for example, a spike in car repossessions foreshadowed the housing market collapse and broader economic downturn. So what does the current spike in repossessions tell us? In short, well, it signals that many Americans are struggling to make ends meet. With inflation still high and interest rates unlikely to drop significantly anytime soon, the repossession trend is likely to continue. And as more people default on their car loans, it could have a ripple effect across all other sectors of the economy. For one, consumer spending is likely to take a hit. When people are forced to prioritize basic expenses over discretionary spending, it reduces demand for goods and services, which in turn can hurt businesses and lead to layoffs. Additionally, repossessions can damage consumers' credit scores, making it harder and harder for them to access credit in the future. So, given the current trend, what can we expect for the future of the car market? While repossessions are on the rise, there's also a growing supply of vehicles hitting the used car market, which could lead to a drop in used car prices. This is particularly true for luxury vehicles, as more high-end repos are auctioned off. However, falling prices doesn't necessarily mean cars will become more affordable for everyone, especially subprime borrowers. They will struggle to finance even a used car. So while the market may see some price relief, overall affordability will remain a challenge. Okay, I know that was a lot, so what the hell did we just learn? Well, overall, the car repossession crisis of 2024 is more than just a story about missed payments and repossessed vehicles. It's a reflection of the financial strain millions of Americans are facing between rising interest rates, high inflation, and increasing car prices, and a million other factors. Many consumers are simply unable to keep up with their auto loans. And while repossessions may be the first visible sign of financial distress, it's likely that this crisis will have far-reaching effects on the broader economy. So if you're getting pinched by an aggressive car loan, you're definitely not alone, and now is the time to take action. Whether it's refinancing your car loan, cutting back on discretionary spending, or even downsizing your vehicle, there are steps you can take to avoid falling behind on payments. So, as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and comment below. Let us know if you notice more repossessions in your area and what you think about this whole deal. Till next time, enjoy these videos over here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal. We'll see you next week, and promise me one thing, keep living the ideal lifestyle.